Okay, guys, I don't even play Neverness to Everness, but I've been seeing this go around on my Twitter page about people saying that NTE is using AI art. And I think I have some opinions towards it, but I found another Reddit thread that shows it as well. So these are some of the images that happens in the game. So it's got the movie poster onto it. Then it's got more of the references of the characters, and you can see all those like people over there. Yeah, they look pretty AI generated. Even more so, another movie reference. And yeah, those are the images. So let's see what this person is saying here. I'm really not here to encourage that we don't post the game, and I know that AI is much more normalized in China. I just thought to make this post because I feel it's possible to have conversation around AI use that goes beyond everyone uses AI these days, nothing we can do about it. And I believe that we can criticize and hold accountable games we otherwise enjoy. So how do you feel about it? Has it and will it affect your immersion or experience of the game at all? From what I know, NT doesn't use AI for its character designs, which is basically what people have been discussing. Like NT also made a statement that says that they don't use AI to create their character models and launch and put it all up. But they don't admit as to whether or not they are using it for their environmental stuff. So it is present for atmospheric things like in the images above. Well, the thing is, because NT doesn't say if they're using the AI art for these things, we do not actually have a confirmation, but we can only guess and assume. Since they didn't deny, then maybe there is a chance that they are using AI art and it's not drawn by an actual artist. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I think I've always long had an opinion as to what I perceive to AI art, and I'm just going to start off by saying that I don't like AI art. Like, I actually despise AI art. I think AI in the form of creative content is pretty annoying, especially when it comes to like even doing YouTube at times. People use AI art or even AI tools in order to make their videos, and nowadays the larger audience of people in the online space are succumbing to the fact that they don't recognize what is AI anymore and they just accept whatever that they see. I have a little experience that I had recently where for some reason, one fine night, I wanted to like watch videos of penguins and huskies because I'm just interested in the cute animals. So I was watching this compilation video on YouTube of like, 50 huskies or something. And then when I watched it for quite a while, only about a quarter way through the video or halfway that I stopped myself and then started thinking, this video was posted just within the recent year. And I'm staring at the video and thinking, there's a chance that a bigger proportion of what I'm watching right now isn't real. And the problem is because it isn't real, I don't know that. Like, I couldn't sense if it's AI generated or not. So afterwards, I had to like stop the video, I paused, I changed into another video that I saw was posted 7 years ago. And I'm like, at least at this point in time of my life, I remember that the videos were all homemade and legitimate huskies doing stuff, The thing is, AI art and generated content is so prevalent to our lives. And right now, we are at a state where we can tell what is AI generated and what is not. At least some people claim that they can do so. But I need to unfortunately put it that I'm pretty afraid because I do think that we are going to approach a phase of our life where we actually don't know if certain things are AI generated. And if the companies that create them don't tell us that they did it, like it's just gonna be something that we live in ignorance and never actually find out. Like even if someone whistle blows, you're gonna be like, oh wait, I absolutely didn't know, I just got absolutely bamboozled by it. But this is not me to say that we should be comfortable with AI art after all, because one of the things that I feel towards AI art is some people don't use it as appropriately as I would hope for them to do. So there are people who consider themselves artists, and very highly and proudly so, and they do that while being a very prevalent user of AI. So basically these are AI artists calling themselves true artists, and I don't think that is in any way accurate at all, because in order for you to do art, you do need to know the concept of drawing, you do need to know the concepts of coloring and all that sort of hard work in ideating. And I do think that it just puts a stain on actual people who have taken classes and multiple hours, days of their lives in order to perfect their own craft. And yet AI art is kind of like shortening everything for them. But yet at the same time, as what that Reddit user has put, it's unfortunately not possible for us to just push away AI and say, delete all AI, AI doesn't deserve a place in this world, because the unfortunate circumstance is that AI isn't exactly unhelpful to the way that things are. AI has hit the point where it does save people time and money. And when you have a whole capitalistic world and everybody needs to find ways to make money as fast as possible, if for some people it means for their survival and this is the way that they do so, who are we to say that what they're doing is wrong per se? Now, there are certain industries where when they use generated content, I am on the standpoint that I cannot fault them for using it. Like for instance, I'll give the sort of example of a restaurant, right? If you have a restaurant that's trying to decorate their place, whether it's the interior design or the posters or the pictures that they want to put forth, and they feel that rather than to buy actual pieces, for some reason, to save costs and whatnot, they decided we're going to have generated artworks that we can just put all over the place in order to, be something nice for our customers to look at. I'm on the standpoint that I kind of can't be bothered that they did that, because in any case, when you go to a restaurant, the whole purpose of you being there is to eat delicious food, right? All those things about the designs and whatnot, they are pretty much secondary to your experience. Of course, if you really are a big hater of AI, which I kind of am as well, it's gonna be a little bit irky to you, like, oh, I'm looking at AI while I'm eating my noodles, that kind of thing. But even so, it's not something that I will say it's terrible, because people need to kind of be more empathetic about it as well, where for such companies, rental costs, ingredient costs, all the extra things that they need to consider can be so high. And the idea of putting way more money to be charged by certain artists that may even ask for a very high price, that's just not their priority as a restaurant. So to me, for such industries, I find that it's okay if that's what they need to do. But for other people, like for example, people in a marketing company where they need to do ads for people to watch, and in this case, creative industries in the form of games, right? Artwork is the primary thing that they need to care about in order to deliver their product. In this case, that's where I do agree that I will feel a little bit more sour that, hey, this is a game that I want to admire the art, but yet at the same time, this is what they're doing within the place. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm saying that game companies are not allowed to use AI art or generated tools, because to me, these items are meant to help speed up the process of what they are doing. Now, I find that the prevalence of AI art isn't necessarily any different from what artists have been doing in the past many, many years and how problems have arisen. So, a lot of people have pointed out that generated content can be very unethical because the sources that they use to train on are often stolen art pieces from other artists that have already done this stuff. They take all their pieces, throw it into an algorithm, train the algorithm, and let it be able to churn out even more stuff. And as a result, people can then compare and realize, hey, maybe this looks very similar to an older piece. However, to me, this isn't very different from the past, because if you think about artists who are drawing maybe a character and trying to figure out what outfit they want to wear, what hairstyle they want to use, sometimes they might think of it off their head. But other times, if they wanted to get inspiration, the way that they do so is to perhaps do a Google search, to go on Pinterest, to go on Instagram, in order to find those very specific prompts and characters that they want. It's going to be more time consuming because they will be sourcing through as many images as possible to get to the idea that they want, and then mix and mash, and then create the item that they want to produce as their artwork, But when it comes to generated content, where people have the prompts being placed in, and then it takes the artwork from these places, you got to understand that it's kind of not exactly very different from the idea that we search for artworks on Google, because after all, we're looking at the same copyrighted content. Generated content ends up pulling everything in, mishmashing into what looks like its own product. Now the thing is, when these generative tools just take everything in and then put it into one final product, does it cause a situation of plagiarism? Very highly, it probably will. But that's no different from people who have, done the normal way of taking ideas online on maybe a DeviantArt, a pixel picture, and tracing it, and then as a result cause a situation of plagiarism. Both instances, whether it's the old school method or the now new method of using a generative tool, have unethical situations that occur. So as a result, it's not exactly too different after all. Of course, it gets people very uncomfortable when all these AI tools are just taking people's artworks without permission. I don't even agree to that as well. But at the same time, what I'm saying is that the way that it arrives at the product isn't exactly too different from how we have been using, say, Google search to do what we do. But it saves a lot of people time in terms of ideating stuff, right? And artists can perhaps only think of 5 versions or 10 versions of what they want to draw. But if the use of generated content lets them have 200 ideas on the table, it's really helpful for them to at least be picking out what's the exact one that is closer to what they wanted to achieve. So what I'm trying to say here is, I think a lot of people are also upset with Neverness, with the idea that, hey, let's just assume that the assets are actually not generated, right? And instead there is an actual artist that draws them. People don't like the fact that there are AI tools that they perhaps have used in their company in order to arrive at that drawing. But there is a part of me that says, I find that that is a level of acceptance that I would be okay with, despite being someone who doesn't like AI generated stuff. Because at the end of the day, just like how ChatGPT has been helping people to write their essays, you have Claude Code, who's helping programmers to reduce their time of coding from 5 hours into 10 minutes. Generative art tools are there to also help quicken the time and the process that artists may take in order to arrive at what they want. So to me, in that case, AI should be used as a tool, but not as a product. It's fine if you feel that in order to survive in your current industry, that is what you need to take, because it's just unfortunate, right? All the companies out there are all leveraging on AI one way or another. It's even perplexes me right now that I've attended various concerts and programs, and I've been told at the end of the program that the music that's being used in this event were actually all AI generated music. And I'm just there like, I wouldn't have known if you didn't tell me. It just happens. These people are all out there trying to save cost and time. Big artists nowadays, like artists that you follow perhaps, are even trying to use AI tools. And they don't have to publicly declare that they do it. They would be thinking to themselves that people are going to deplore them for using it. But yet, it's helping them, So, what I mean to say is, I think there's a certain line that I would personally draw in terms of my acceptance to where AI can be when it comes to the form of games. But if, let's say, Neverness were to actually have directly generated assets as what the Reddit user tries to put, that these images are just plonk and play, of course I wouldn't really respect it. And in this case, there was the part where they stated, do we have the sort of right to, go against the company and whatnot and maybe boycott them? To me, if you just don't like it and you feel that they're doing this, you have all your own individual right and power to just say, I'm not going to play this game. I mean, I'm also not playing Neverness to Everness myself, and is this one of the reasons why? Perhaps it's one of my own personal reasons why, but I'm not gonna use this as a way to start an entire movement to tell people that, hey, don't play this game and whatnot. You just have your own personal customer choice in order to see that, there's AI here, and depending on how much you do not like it, just don't support it, It's just, in a sense, unfortunate that certain game industries may have to pursue this sort of outcome because they simply don't have the amount of budget in order to afford paying all of their artists. Things are getting more expensive everywhere, even in creative works. And there's that part of me that, slightly empathizes with the company of Neverness, because I do believe this is one of their first major games, and perhaps they didn't have the budget to put it into such assets. It feels a little bit scummy, but if they have to do it, then why not, I guess. I'm just gonna play it, since they didn't do it the way that I would hope that they do it, And in this case, hopefully in the future, if they value art even better, that they get actual people who can help to make those assets when they have a higher funding, because more people are actually trying out their game. Of course, it's funny that Neverness had this situation occur at the same time as when Arknights celebrated their 7th anniversary, and then at the very end of the Celtic music video, we saw the compilation of 100+ over variations of Celtic drawn by all their official artists. That was a spectacular thing for us to see. It goes to show why AK is such a loved game, such a loved community, because they cherish that sort of artwork. For myself personally, as a content creator as well, I value creative works. I wish that everything that I'm doing, everything that I'm using, is made by people with, real hands, real hours that they put into their artwork. That's what I would want to keep supporting. If games were to use generated content, I'm not going to fault them. I'm just not going to play them. But if there are companies that can value artists, I am more inclined to want to support them myself. At this ending point of the video, some of you might get upset and say that, my take is almost like trying to say that we should just accept and normalize AI. And I don't agree. I don't think that AI should be normalized in any way, but it is very scary to just see how major companies are all making waves with this, right? You have big Chinese tech companies and even other industries all regulating and saying that AI should be used in their processes. You have Facebook, Meta basically, or even X themselves, Twitter, that is so aggressive in their use of AI and trying to make that push out content to their regular viewers. But to me, the saving grace is that there are big companies out there that still cherishes the hard work of actual people. With the likes of Hypergraph, for example, who makes Arknights and Arknights Enfield and clearly loves art for themselves. To me, these better diamonds, hidden gems out there are the people that I want to support. I'm just a singular consumer. I can maybe start a whole riot and protest against these, but I just don't see that being something that's purposeful. At the very least, the bigger companies that are still supporting artists, to me, are the better ones that actually causes a movement against the wave and use of AI art. And if you can find all those people who are doing that sort of good job, then keep being a lover of them, keep supporting them in what they do, and that is your way of contesting such instances of perhaps game companies that are pursuing the use of AI in their works. So that is my opinion towards this whole AI art matter. That yes, it is very much what the Reddit users said, that AI is all over, we can't stop it, but people must understand you have your own ability to say what you want and what you do not want. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't use AI in your life. Know how to use it in order to help you in your procedures. And as I said, if you really cherish creativity, if you really cherish good work, then make sure that AI is never the end product, but instead just something to help assist in your life. So that is how I feel towards this particular situation. Let me know also how you all feel about this whole little debacle where NTE is perhaps in one way or another using AI to support their processes. Alright, I'll see you guys in another video. Bye bye.